Welcome to the inauguration edition of Anglican Unscripted, episode 264, where Kevin and George sit and talk about all things political, all things Christian, all the time. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger. Today's January 20th, 2017.
Okay, I need to let you guys know that George is kind of fidgety today. His hands keep hitting the microphone and the microphone table. He is currently sitting on his hands. Right, George?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just want to be sure. 'Cause this is what's been happening in our first two recordings of this. Yeah, I'm over here. Something's wrong with your microphone. Oh, no. All right, on with the show. It's Inauguration Day. That means we have a new president after 8 years of Barack Obama, 8 years of George W. Bush, 8 years of, who was the guy before him?
Bill Clinton.
That's right. Oh, boy. I remember those days. All right. We have come upon a controversy, whether or not we should pray for our president by name. Now, this is not a controversy in the ACNA. It's not a controversy in every other province of the world. But here in the Episcopal Church, Donald Trump can be a trigger word. It can be something that brings up fear, loathing, anxiety, panic. And so a priest out in Pasadena wrote his congregation and said, listen, I hear your fear. I want to avoid this anxiety on Sunday morning. So during the prayers of the people, we will not say his name, which cannot be said. We will use a different form, and we will say, we will pray for all in authority, including Michael Curry. And so this has been kind of a slow building controversy over time because a lot of people have a different reaction to this inauguration of a new president. I'm watching right now a live feed of the Capitol, and there are about 1 million people celebrating and watching history. Every time there's a peaceful transfer of power in America, that is history because you've not seen that in other countries. It's something that is unique to America for the last 225 years. It's something that we need to be very thankful for. However, this is a real thing, and George, you know this priest from Pasadena. And why do you think he's doing this?
Well, Mike Kinman and I were seminary classmates for 3 years. And
okay, you went to a couple of different seminaries. Which one were you at with him?
Well, I trained for the ministry at Yale Divinity School.
Okay, all right.
Mike and I were together for 3 years at Yale. And Mike is a wonderful fella. He and his wife are charming. They have some beautiful children who are probably grown up by now. It's over 20 years ago. And Jeff Walton of the IRD on their blog Juicy Ecumenism wrote a great story about All Saints Pasadena and Mike Kinman. On Anglican Ink, I didn't print it simply because I have a personal relationship with the person, with Mike Kinman, and therefore, there's certain subjects, certain areas we just don't touch.
And to be fair, we don't touch my bishop or your bishop. Those are two of the safest people working in the Anglican communion today.
If there's good news, Kevin, we touch it.
Well,
but
yes.
If there's bad news, so we didn't talk about Phil's drunk.
No.
We won't go any further. Okay. Well, so what happened was All Saints Pasadena is an Episcopal Church megachurch. It's one of the biggest churches out in the West Coast. It has a long history of progressive social activism. Susan Russell, who is the former leader of Integrity, very well-known gay activist in the Episcopal Church, has been a long-time assistant at that parish.
Yeah, her most famous picture has her with not a cross, but a megaphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mike was always a progressive. Back in seminary 25 years ago, he would buy the Jack Spong books, and he would read them, and he'd believe them, and he'd get excited. Now, I would roll my eyes and think, oh, my God, But, well, but one is able to maintain social friendships even though we have disagreements about doctrine and discipline.
We're
Mike's
commanded
had
to.
a Mike's had a great career. He's been a college chaplain. He was dean of the cathedral in St. Louis,
Mhm.
and he was very heavily involved in the Ferguson marches and Black Lives Matter. And he's really on the cutting edge of progressive social activism in the Episcopal Church. And the Trump election, for many of the people in his congregation, has been a nightmare. And he got up a few Sundays ago and announced that they would not say the name of he who must not be named because it would be a trigger. Now, I know Episcopal churches that did not say the name of she who must not be named,
That's right.
Catherine Jefferts Schori, for about 7 years. They would use the form of the prayers of the people that we pray for all those in authority, all bishops, priests, and those in authority. So there are ways around having to name somebody. But in this particular instance, Mike's pastoral concern for the members of his congregation, along with a tendency to showboat sometimes, made this a national news story that got picked up from Breitbart in London across the globe.
Well, not only did it get picked up, but it's also something that within the United States is kind of spread. I hear about the National Cathedral saying, well, we did not expect this. We were fully on board with Hillary. We're going to do all the choirs and bells and whistles. We were going to hold prayer services 24 hours a day. We were even going to invite God to our church when Hillary was elected. Well, that kind of didn't happen. Donald became elected, and they're kind
Yes
of in
and
the
no.
lurch. What do we do?
Yes and no, Kevin. It was not the Washington National Cathedral. It was people affiliated or who like to talk about the Washington National Cathedral. For instance, the former dean, Gary Hall, who famously said he was a non theistic Christian, which I don't really understand what that means, said it was a mistake to lend the cathedral's credibility to the Trump inauguration. The current dean, Randy Hollerith, said, yes, this is part of our role as being, if you will, the America's national Protestant church. And so the cathedral itself is fully on board and they're participating in the interfaith and ecumenical celebrations before and after, as they always have done since, I guess for the last 100 plus years.
Hmm.
And but there have been some Episcopal activists on the left who have taken to social media to make a stink. And it even prompted the presiding bishop, Michael Curry, to issue a formal letter saying that though we may disagree on political policies, we must pray for everybody. And I think he even made the point Christ calls us to pray for our enemies too. So get a life, people, I think was what the presiding bishop was trying to say.
Yeah, it is interesting. You can tell in times like this who the adults really are, and who are just living in frustration of the time and reacting to the winds that blow us to and fro. So, at this point, what is the official point or position of the Episcopal Church, George?
Well, there is no official point of the Episcopal Church on anything. Uh, it's who's speaking loudest at the moment. The
Okay.
official point of the Episcopal Church is the Book of Common Prayer. Not even a resolution of General Convention has any standing beyond the moment it's written.
Hmm.
And the official point of the Dean of the Cathedral is welcome. The official point of the presiding bishop of the cathedral is welcome. The official point of the rector of All Saints Pasadena is if you say Donald Trump's name 5 times, turn around, Satan will drag you into hell. He's the candy man.
Yes.
Um, but see, that's the thing about the Episcopal Church and the ACNA. We're not Catholic churches where we are Catholic in one sense.
Come
Yes,
on, we
Bishop
are
Ackerman, I
Catholic.
know.
I tell my
But
son this all the time, who's, kind of at times a Roman Catholic, anti-Roman Catholic activist. I said, son, we're all Catholic.
small c Catholics.
Small c.
Uh, but
What are you talking about?
we don't have a magisterium.
Hmm.
We do not have one person, even if he thinks his name is Justin Welby, who speaks on behalf of us, for all times and forever.
Mm.
Mike's view in Pasadena is equally valid as Dean Randy Hollerith, as Michael Curry's on this issue. that is outside of church doctrine and discipline. So what's the Episcopal Church's position? Pick whichever one is closest to what you like.
Okay, well, that's an answer to the question. Now, inaugurations, we've taped this twice, so I don't know what I've alluded to before, if you're going to get to see it or not, but are unique here in America because we've had basically 230 years of peaceful transfers of power, where the electorate, the people get to vote, the Electoral College takes that vote and chooses the candidate who is voted for. I know. And all of a sudden...
Kevin,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Before you get serious, you have to talk about the ACNA's role in the inaugurational festivities.
Oh, they had a good role where they were part of the prayers and stuff like that. Then I saw a photograph that was posted, and Mrs. Archbishop was dressed... Where'd you go, George? Okay, sorry about that. Little technical difficulties. Where George disappears, it's usually something happened in Florida. Was there a hurricane, George?
I think an alligator was chewing the cable outside. Actually, they're waxing the floors today in the parish offices.
That's good.
And I have a carpet, so they don't have to wax in here, but they unplugged everything to get that part of the room.
So it's embarrassing for us when not everything works perfectly, but we kind of know we're just the raw format and unscripted news. So what you get here is what you get here. I got to see a picture of Archbishop Foley Beach and his dear wife at the inauguration. All denominations get to participate. They have yesterday they had prayer at the National Cathedral. All the who's who was there. Billy Graham, the heads of most of I think all the denominations. I'm sure Joe Osteen
And
was there.
they have half a dozen balls,
Yep,
formal
absolutely.
balls and parties and
Yeah.
receptions in the beach. And there was a lovely photo posted of Mrs. Beach and Archbishop Beach at one of the balls, and she in a very lovely evening gown. And Archbishop Beach was also in the photo.
His tux looked a little missized. It's interesting. We can talk for at least 40 minutes about inauguration prayers and praying for the president with the Episcopal Church, and our only worry about the ACNA is whether or not Archbishop Foley Beach's tux fits properly. What a world we live in.
Well, no, I mean, it's a style. I choose a new tailor if I.
Yeah.
Kevin. I'm particular about Anglican ecclesiastical dress and haberdashery. I mean, I'm a bit of an old fuss budget, and it just didn't work. The outfit didn't.
I spend hours every morning picking the correct polo shirt. I'm really particular about what I wear. It's just the way we are, George. We are, living the high life, much like the Trumps do. So that's it. We have a new president. His name is Donald Trump. It's 12/11. I'll be posting this episode 2. Because of the technical difficulty, I don't know exactly how long this was. I'm assuming we're about 15 minutes. What's going on this week, George? Before we
Well,
sign
we're,
off.
we're preparing for the Central Florida Diocesan Convention. That's this coming weekend. Be a lot of fun, exciting. Graham Kings, the Archbishop of Canterbury's missioner for evangelism and Anglican Communion stuff, is coming to speak to us, and we'll see how that turns out.
The College of Bishops of the ACNA just had their winter meeting. They had it down in Melbourne, Florida.
Melbourne, Florida, yeah.
Where's that, George?
Melbourne is straight across from Orlando on the East Coast.
Okay, good. And there was finally a phase 4 of the Holy Orders report that was issued to the College of Bishops. That should be made available to us sometime in February, where we get to discuss ad nauseum all the things that were discussed for the last 4 years by the task force. These are the people you need to pray for. What a hard job to sit down and bring the mind of the whole church on holy orders. And for some of you who don't know what that means, we're also talking about women's orders, women's ordination within the church, something that the GAFCON and the ACNA will be talking a lot about in the next year or two. So I guess you guys are all up to speed. Godspeed and prayers to President Donald Trump, and keep our nation in your prayers. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger, and you've been watching episode 264 of Anglican Unscripted. I know some Episcopal churches that when Catherine Jefferts Schori was presiding bishop, they did those prayers where you don't have to say her name, Catherine Jefferts Schori, because if you said it 5 times fast, then turn around, Satan would appear and drag you to hell.
Well, you can go all the way back to the Revolutionary War and whether or not we should pray for the Queen, or back then the King. You know, it's one of those things that politics and our religion never seem to be able to separate.
Well, the story moved from Pasadena, California to, and I'm leaning back and forth.
Yeah, would you stop?
I'll just slouch like this, and I'll scratch.
You are a producer's nightmare.
I have to scratch my ear too on that. Oh.
I'm going to have to blur that out so people don't get disgusted. Okay.
No, I mean, Kevin, the problem with modern cars is they have these electronic things, and you can't
stick to it.
I mean, a good old-fashioned key does,
No, I understand. My father, we would be driving down the road at a vacation. You spend 2 weeks in the back of the Plymouth station wagon. He would take his sunglasses off. And he's blind as a bat without his thing. And all the way down the road, he's sticking it out. You can see it coming out the other side. Got to keep those ears clean.
Well,
yeah, thanks, Dad, for all those memories.